Is morally, ethically, spiritually, physically, positively, absolutely, undeniably, and reliably dead.
What's up, everybody? And I felt like we lost somebody. Welcome to another edition of, I think this is number 3 now, Behind the Curtain. This is going to be a little different, special edition, since it is Easter, you know, the most important holiday.
You know, really. I kind of forgot it was Easter.
Are you kidding? I didn't forget it was Easter. I mean, the Christians were definitely on it to remind me about Easter.
Yeah, all you got to do is open up your social medias and you'll find out real quick that it's Easter. But before we get into the conversation, I want to make sure we get proper introductions here. So, Phil, as always, here on Behind the Curtains, good to see you. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling good. Weather's really nice outside, and it's a good time of year.
And I'm going to assume, Phil, where you live, the sun was out today.
Yes. I'm in California, east of Los Angeles.
Look at you! Hey.
Hey.
I was using that whole critical thinking thing that we do. I saw the guns were out, so I assumed the suns were out.
Oh, guns out. Call these guns. That's a lot of gun there.
I got a little bit of shoulder out, so you know.
Sun's out, guns out.
And then I've never been accused of before.
First for everything. And as always, the beautiful Jena is with us. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I have risen really quite early beyond the crack of dawn to celebrate the resurrection of our Jesus Lord and blah 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 zombie Jesus. So that was fun. I'm tired as fuck, but I'm good.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna dive into it, and then yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to add a little note, because we are gonna have the conversation. I have proof that Jesus is real, so I'm ready to debate you.
What?
Oh, this should be great. And you picked when GE's here. This is gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna beat both y'all.
We have. Not the first time at all on our platform, but the first time here on behind the curtain. Godless Engineer is hanging out, chilling with us this evening for the crucifixion / resurrection conversation. What's up, home?
Nothing much. Just been chilling out this weekend. I got both of my videos uploaded for this week, so I'm that's off my plate. I just got to start working on next week.
Yep. It never stops. It's as soon as you feel like
constant grind.
You feel like you accomplished something, it's like, oh yeah, I gotta do that shit too. And then I haven't heard back from Jason from Dragons of Genesis. He was supposed to be joining us as well, but he does. And then Amy's running late. Amy will be here a little bit. But before we jump into anything, I have to do my due diligence and make sure I talk about Better. And from the investigation that I have not done this. I'm leaning on what a couple people of research told me. It'll be Indiana's first any type of like skeptic, secular, atheist, like gathering type thing, like conference like that. They've had groups and things like that. Don't get me wrong, but anything like that. So that's pretty fucking awesome. But Better will be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, June 25th and 26th at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum. That's a mouthful. And We'll get all the links and everything in the chat for you. They're popping up there, and you can see we have Seth Andrews, Shannon Q, Apologia, Dr. Josh, Dave Warnock, Cynthia McDonald, and others will be there. And you get to hear my ass talk for a little bit. So that's a great reason to buy a ticket. But and then G actually messaged me a day or two ago, and he will be joining us. He'll be coming and hanging out with us. So that's exciting. So yeah, you can get your reservations there at the Eventbrite. And if you have any questions on that, you can email us. I'll put the email in the chat here in a second. But June 25th and 26th is going to be here fast. So I would recommend you go and get those now, because the ultimate package, or what I can't remember the name, Elite, we chose. Those are limited. There's only so many because the
he got raptured.
Sorry, my internet. The bar we're going to be at has limited capacity, so we can only have so many people that are part of that. But that's all I'll hit for now. So let's just jump into it. Fuck the bullshit. Let's just jump right into it. So let's start with
our super chat.
Oh yes. Shit! Let's see it pop up. You know how we do. Oop, I hit the wrong button. $2 from the sinister I can never say that right.
Porpoise.
I gotta talk slow. When is this? Next one in Terre Haute. This is June 25th and 26th, Saturday and a Sunday. And Terre Haute is on the complete. So Fort Wayne, if I know it's not the state, but if Fort Wayne's all the way up here, Terre Haute's all the way down here. So I don't know that will happen, but it will be in Indiana. So still manageable. We have people from California flying in, so
that's cool.
Just bought my ticket today.
Jena, and yeah, Jena did, and I think there's a couple others that. Well, Pat can't make it now, but Pat was going to be flying in. I'm trying to get this. What are you doing, StreamYard? Thank you. Cool. Let's get into it. So I was kind of thinking about where or how to start this, because it's a broad, big, wide conversation. Let's first start with just not the crucifixion of Jesus, but the crucifix, the cross, and how that became now, like, people wear this shit around their neck. They have earrings with it. They have shirts with it. That's like it made me, the other day when I was listening to somebody else's stream, it hit me, and I'm sure I'm not the first person, but it hit me for the first time. That's like Death Row Records for hip hop fans, where they had an electric chair as their logo and around their chain, the medallion on their chain.
Yeah.
You're literally walking around with an execution device.
Mm-hmm. It's literally glorified torture.
Yeah, on your shit, and they celebrate it. So
yeah, I've seen memes lately about, what if Jesus was decapitated? They'd have little guillotines on their neck and stuff. It's like, yeah, they would.
Well, I think that maybe it could be because of the emphasis that Paul put on the cross, just from like a historical perspective. Paul put a lot of emphasis on the cross, how it was a quote unquote stumbling block for some people, but also this notion that, Jesus's sacrifice is our sacrifice. I never really understood that as a Christian, but the way that I understand it was that, once we are baptized into the belief, right, that's like a symbolic death and rebirth, and precisely. So like the cross is the, I guess, somewhat historical manifestation of a death and rebirth too. So I think that it's probably I think that's probably where it stems from, because by the time that it was probably being used, which I mean, I don't know exactly when crosses started being used for Christians. It obviously wasn't early, but by the time that it was starting to be used, I think that the stigma of crucifixion had really worn off, at that point. So, but take my opinion for what you will.
No, that does follow. And like I had mentioned backstage before we went live, surprisingly, I went to church today, 6 a.m. sunrise service. Oh Lord, I sacrificed myself for this show. You're welcome. No, it's just because I'm closeted and nobody knows yet. Long story, but it following what you just said, GE, that's precisely it. They ran this kind of glorified video on, and it had like 10 baptisms today, and just the reiteration of what you just said. It's whatever Jesus Christ went through. You went through that same pain and sacrifice. So the old you is now dead, and the resurrected you is now also Jesus within you, and you are Jesus, or Jesus is within you, or however they worded it. But it's, the old life and this is new life. Like I've had it just today, there were two out of 10 of the baptized individuals today converted themselves from Judaism to Christianity. And I'm like, huh, that was interesting.
G and I both at the same time went.
Yeah.
I
was like, wow.
From what I've heard, it was to show the sort of the intensity of the death, right? So the greater the torture, the greater the intensity and the pain and then the suffering, the greater people will recognize and give thanks for taking us off of our back, kind of thing, or taking all our sins. You suffered so much, and crucifixion was supposed to be, one of the worst ways to die. Personally, when you see these medieval torture pictures, I'm pretty much thinking the stick up the ass is probably kind of worse, but that's just me. But
that just go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and luckily my church is not one of those that likes to glorify the actual act. Then again, they did have an Easter kind of play at 9:30 that I fortunately did not have to go to. But in the past, I've seen other churches demonstrate that whole act of, actually beating Jesus in the church and pretending to nail him on the cross and all that stuff. And I haven't seen it go as far as, actually having blood or whatever, but they've made him look really sweaty or whatever. But I've seen other churches that really get gruesome with it. It's just so...
Go ahead real quick, because I'm going to pull this link up, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've seen pictures from certain congregations where they'll have the kids enact the crucifixion of Jesus and everything. Yeah. Oh, crap. I shut off my camera in the middle of me talking. But they'll actually, I remember putting that up on my Facebook page, and literally the only thing I could think of to say was, what the fuck? It's like, what are they doing to these kids? It seems like a little bit of wrong. It's just wrong is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, and when it makes me think of Greg Locke and what he did with his son reenacting the crucifixion and how disgusting that was. But this pastor, and this was just today, and this is where, first of all, I want to on record say it sucks. And it's terrible that this happened. But this is when you play with fire, you get burnt. And when you make stupid decisions, stupid shit happens, right? And this happened today.
You gotta be shitting me.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Is this for real? It's all Fox News. Is this for real?
No, I read through the whole thing and I researched it. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to read the whole fucking article right now, but yeah, you can look it up. You can research it. And
oh my gosh,
I think they do a reenactment of the crucifixion in the Philippines every year.
Every year.
Too.
Yes, that's the intense one. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's but to go back to what you guys were talking about that G brought up, and I guess my putting my Christian apologist lid on here for a second. My pushback would be, or I guess anti Christian apologetics. It'd be, well, if the cross is the ultimate death, it's supposed to be the worst, or whatever. According to Paul, isn't it the defeating of conquering of death, hell, and the grave? Isn't it that in which they receive their salvation, but not the actual tool? Like that's where I'm lost. It's like you're focusing on the means of which this guy died, which to me is like morbid and weird and strange. But
well, yeah, but I think that it's more of the visual of the cross, because, like, you know, that kind of becomes the central, I guess, visual for Jesus, right? I mean, you've got, you know, in Catholicism, you know, OG Christianity, you've got the crucifix, which is different from a regular cross, because the crucifix has Jesus actually pinned up on it and bleeding and bloody and all this other stuff. So I think that it's just more like, I want to say, like, because when I would look at the crucifix as a kid, I would feel guilt, you know, because it's like, oh, this guy died because of, you know, sin and everything like that. That's my sin. That's, at least that's what I was taught. I was raised Catholic in a private Catholic school. I didn't get much out of it. Like I was pretty oblivious to a lot of the teachings, but like some of the major points stuck with me. And one of the major points was that, you know, Jesus died for all of our sins, all the sins in the past, in the present, and in the future. So, like, to me, that was like, oh, my sin caused him to die, is how I felt as a kid. And so, I mean, I think that kind of visual, you know, being presented like all the time is kind of like a constant reminder. Yeah.
That's a guilt trip. That's such a guilt trip, especially to lay that on kids. I'm a little. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, now not everybody sees it as that, but the way that I grew up, I definitely saw it as that. But I mean that, I don't think that I'm necessarily alone in that, but it is just one particular, you know, perception of it, or experience rather.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the part that doesn't really make sense to me is the resurrection, because, you know, him coming back to life, which, okay, it's miraculous if you believe that sort of thing, but the sacrifice is the death. And when you don't die, when you don't stay dead, what the hell is the sacrifice? So obviously,
well, technically, right. But technically he gets, you know, raptured up or however back to his father or himself, or however you want to explain that away.
Well, isn't that a nice escape hatch?
So he's no longer with us in person until he returns for whatever fucking reason.
He could have done that just by going dead and then writing the story that way.
Right.
But of course, nobody would have believed that story. So you might as well have stories about 500 people seeing him.
What troubled me always was this whole notion of, because in my church or my family's church, they don't say, you know, when it's, you know, Easter Sunday, they say Happy Resurrection Day. That's the language. It's never Happy Easter or Easter Sunday. It's Happy Resurrection Day. And so, but it's always laced in this whole blood of Christ, diving in, you know, being a part of God's body and bathing in the blood of Jesus, and you're washed in his blood. And I'm like, that's disgusting. I don't know why that's so highlighted as something that's just, you know, well, I mean, it goes back to all the whole sacrifices of lambs and things like that, I'm sure. Our own, pea brain thinking of, you know, ritual sacrifices and things like that, which, you know, makes sense, the whole Jesus language. But that notion of being blade in the blood of Jesus was something, I'm sorry, I don't mean to kink shame, you're right. But still. Thank you,
There
Edgar.
again, I mean, none of the sacrificed lambs or cows or oxen or whatever you've got ever came
Right.
back. When they are
Right.
sacrificed, they are gone. That's the whole point of a sacrifice. You lose the thing. So you're
true.
giving it away. You're giving away something you care about, or you're offering it, like when the Buddhists will give fruit and things to their Buddha. Well, that's a little different because then that sits there for 2 weeks as symbolic, and then they give the food to poorer people and stuff like that, or the general community. That's a nice thing. But yeah.
Well, I mean, if you read the Old Testament rules about like how to atone for sin, like officially, it's really sadistic because you're talking about a God who apparently has very humanistic, or not humanistic, but very human senses, because like it talks about how God loves the smell of burning flesh, and
Yeah, that's right.
in order to like cleanse the temple, you have to like slaughter 35 goats and some I don't know, bison or ram or something, and then you've got to like sprinkle their blood in God's living room. And it's just like, what the fuck, God? Like, what?
That's just gross.
I don't understand. And he supposedly loves the smell of like the burning entrails. Like there's a very specific set of organs you've got to cut out of an animal and burn to a crisp. And it's so arbitrary and weird to me. I've never understood it. Even after reading the Old Testament again, still don't understand it. I
It's
still
funny.
don't understand the blood magic of it all.
And all of that to pay a debt or pay a price for something that they the Bible and Christians and apologists all tie back to Adam and Eve. That Adam and Eve didn't know. They didn't even know what it was that they were doing wrong. Because if you're not educated on evil or making evil decisions, how do they even know? How do you hold them accountable for that? So you're literally burning, killing and burning and just I'll call it blooding, just blooding. You're just throwing blood everywhere to atone for something that we don't even know what the fuck it was until the Bible and apologists told us that this is what sin was. Oh, so you constructed that. Cool story, bro.
Yeah, and it's like the perfect God makes the perfect plan by creating Adam and Eve, who then he gives free will to, who can do bad things. Oh, didn't happen to notice it or think that they might actually not do perfect things all the time. And then, whatever, how many years later it was, oh, they're still bad. We have to drown them all. And here's plan C now. I'll send a piece of myself down and kill him in front of them and all, and that'll atone for all their sins. So now they can sin forever. What kind of logic is this? This is insane.
For a being that's supposed to be so utterly perfect, and we're supposed to be, following. We're supposed to be as godlike in our, lives here on Earth. He certainly does make a lot of fucking mistakes. Like it's still mildly explained away as far as the talking serpent. If God himself created anything and all things, then he created that talking snake too, or whatever it was supposed to be. So he purposefully created this game for himself out of his own entertainment to set everyone up thereafter.
Yeah, and he could have created Adam and Eve with the ability to not believe the snake or whatever that whatever a perfect thing would do. But I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time in trying to figure out the psychology of a fictional character. So,
well, holy fucking hell! Look who showed up.
Bitty Buddha.
Bitty Buddha. You're muted.
It's unmuted.
Shut up. Yeah, Wes sent me a link and was like, "You've been summoned. We're talking about sacrifices," and I was like, "Hell yeah!" And I was watching in the chat.
Biddy, did you hear what Jena said earlier about the two conversions?
Yeah, you know that you're not a practicing Jew if you convert to Christianity, because the more you learn about Judaism, the less that fucking shit makes sense.
No truth.
I swear to you, Biddy, when I was sitting there and, the pastor said that, they've like converted themselves to Christianity. She was once a Jew or whatever. It was like a mom and daughter. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Wait,
ethnically,
what?
I'm sure.
I need Biddy.
Yeah.
I need someone. I was utterly confused.
Yeah.
That was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah.
we had an awkward pause. So before we get into the actual we talked about the tool, which is the disgusting part. Now we'll get into the crazy ass shit, and that's talking about a dead dude jumping up after being dead 3 days and doing shit, like actually doing shit. We'll talk about that. But first, everybody get your drink ready, because this is when it gets dumb. Laid back. All right, so I think all of us here have at least heard of or are pretty familiar with like the minimal facts argument, it just escaped me. But there's like 2 or 3 main go-tos for apologists. Are there any? First of all, are there any arguments for the resurrection that have any type of actual evidence that maybe I haven't heard?
I talked to a couple of guys yesterday. I was doing an Ask an Atheist booth at our local market fair over here. And a couple of these young, very good guys, strong Christians and everything. And I did focus on the resurrection because it was just like the one thing that, please explain to me how this makes sense to you, that you can actually believe in this. And interestingly, they went to talked about prophecy. To basically they're trying to justify their belief in something that doesn't happen in real life. So they went to prophecy, and then they went to miracles that happened in the past, which I've seen this before, where people build this sort of like house of cards. So now number one, you've changed the subject. Number two, you have gone to something else that is just as ridiculous sounding, but to them it makes sense when you start to stack up this feeble house of cards. But then the frustrating part is that they are convinced that so much of this, there's so much documentation that it's impossible not to believe this stuff on all 3 of these issues, whether it's the tomb or the resurrection or the prophecies and stuff. So it's just like, it's frustrating. It's like you can't win.
Yeah, and real quick, just going through the chat. Yes, when I say evidence, I mean outside of the Bible. So I'm not, because that's just circular. Right? We're just going to keep spinning and spinning. This is used. Where'd it go? This is used as part of the. Nope, not that one. This is used as part of the minimal facts argument. And actually, last time GE was on with me, we were going through Habermas's shit. This is the one of the ones that we focused on, and it's like this isn't even a good argument, this, and it's really only Christian and Christian apologists that even fucking use this.
What is this? I don't understand the criteria of embarrassment.
Well, no, I've heard people who argue for a historical Jesus use this type of argument too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's used for both, but yeah, the criterion of embarrassment. The problem with that is that you would have to know that that the information would be embarrassing to people, and typically with the resurrection, specifically, the embarrassment is women finding the tomb. There's 2 things: 1, the women finding the tomb empty, and then 2, Jesus being crucified in general. Those 2 things are considered embarrassing by these proponents that are not really embarrassing at all in the least bit. And for every reason that you could think of that these would be embarrassing, you could equally find the same number of arguments for why it wouldn't be embarrassing. So the criterion of embarrassment is incredibly weak, in my opinion.
Agreed. And real quick, two things before we keep going. First, obviously, just popped on screen the one and the only Amy Newman. Welcome.
Thank you so very much. What
Hey,
is
Amy.
up, all you fantastic non-believers?
We are.
New subscriber here to Amy.
Woo, thank you so very much.
No problem.
She, Amy and James, they put in a lot of work. They put in them hours. Hours.
But we have a lot of fun.
Oh, they do. Yeah, absolutely. And we do have this super chat thing here. Drank. Yeah. What the fuck? What are you doing, computer?
What is up, Pat?
Barbecuing with Yahweh.
Super chat from the one and only Pat Lowinger, $2. Check out Biddy's new show, Barbecuing with Yahweh.
I like it.
He likes them burnt crispy.
He loves the smell of burning flesh. So first from the skeptical angle. So my dad has been in the mortuary business for my entire life, like since I was a kid. And I've asked him, for the last 4 years, whatever it's now been since I walked away from faith, because I want to see if what he says is consistent in this. And I asked him, Dad, what happens to a dead body after like 2 days, 3 days? Like what's happening? And I get just about the same fucking answer every single time. And it's the skin is now slipping. If you grab the arm, grab the leg, the skin is now slipping. All the fluids are now coming to the top, whether it's through and I'm sorry if it's graphic. Trigger warning if you don't like body fluids and blood and shit. But the skin slipping, there's swelling, there's fluids coming to to the top, and yada yada yada. I said, so Dad, do you know what's going on the inside? He was like, well, I'm not a doctor, I don't know what's going on the inside. I can just tell you that things start moving around and going to places that they don't belong, because the body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing when it's living. I was like, so
can I interject something real quick?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of today I learned. Yeah, when you die, you shit yourself. So there's that to consider. For Jesus, he probably shit himself on the cross. Just saying.
I learned that from South Park.
What Jena said.
South Park is a great teacher. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
It really is.
But there's, and I won't go down the rest of the conversation, but it's been consistent, and that's somebody that that's his profession, that is his area of expertise. Thank you, Dr. Josh. And that's that's what he does. So again, going from the skeptic logical reason, why, if there is no extra biblical evidence, there's nothing outside of that book that gives us any type of suggestion or evidence to believe that a 3-day-old dead carcass rose up, jumped up, what's up, motherfuckers? I'm here to save the world, bitches. Why do we believe this shit?
Magic.
Well, I mean, when you got the power of magic, you can.
And I often ask, if you come across someone that was resurrected for 4 days, would you suddenly start to lean in their direction? I don't get yes as an answer very often.
Yeah, if we can beat you by a day, if my God beats yours by a day, is he real? Is
a cheaper plan, more included?
Nah, mine rose in 2. Yours was lazy.
Ooh.
I've had people tell me that people come back from the dead all the time, you know, so they believe it's not such an unusual thing. And you know, it's someone coming back after an MI or whatever. It's just like, you know, please show me somebody that comes back outside of the people who are like that came back maybe after an hour kind of thing. Yeah, show me somebody comes back a week later. We have good documentation.
No, it dives into this whole rabbit hole of, you know, defining clinical death about that, and when is someone actually pronounced dead, and are they really dead if they're on support, and all this stuff. It's like it dives into this whole different rabbit hole that people that aren't medically sound or don't fully understand what all that means, they try to attribute that to, you know, that whole resurrection story.
And it's always NDEs. It's always near-death experiences, not death experiences.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. These guys yesterday, they told me that the Jewish widespread belief is that the tomb was raided and the body was lost that way. What do we know about that? I mean, no resurrection, obviously, but that explains an empty tomb.
So
yeah. Go ahead, Biddy.
Can I jump in? So I think like a lot of my content is to just teach what the Bible says, and people ultimately deconstruct by learning it. And one of the things is obviously Jesus doesn't fit the Jewish Messiah in any degree of the sense. And so it says, like, Jeremiah 33 lays out what the new covenant is, and you need a Messiah to be present for that. And then he himself is going to build the temple. He himself is going to conduct sin offerings still. So you cannot have somebody that was the ultimate sin sacrifice that is then the Messiah in the new millennium conducting sin offerings. And it says, I think in Deuteronomy 24, that no man can be the atonement for another person's sins. And then ultimately he's supposed to have like sons to carry on the lineage. And then in just this is why the resurrection is bullshit too, is Isaiah 11 says that the resting place of where the Messiah ends up will be glorious. The temple will stand forever in operation after the Messiah rebuilds it. God didn't want Adam eating from the tree of life to become immortal like the divine beings. Adam's lineage can trace all the way down to the king. The king is in the covenant made with God and Abraham. So like, according to messianic prophecy, wherever he was then buried and died of natural causes, because secular crucifixion does not qualify as an atonement for sin, plus he was never supposed to die that way, you would know where he was buried, and it would be a place that was highly regarded or revered forever. There would be no question, was the tomb raided? Whose tomb was it? You know, who, like, we would just know. And so the fact that it doesn't even fit this description is bullshit, that you were even worshiping a person centuries into the, you know, after the fact.
Well, I mean, I've got to push back on this whole idea a little bit here, because it's very obvious that some Jews in the first century were expecting a Messiah exactly like Jesus. So, I mean, I feel like it's a little misleading to say that Jesus wasn't supposed to do these things, or the Messiah of Judaism wasn't supposed to do these things. There were sects of Jews that didn't think that adhered to a militaristic Messiah and adhered to different ideas about the Messiah. But it's painfully obvious that Paul's Messiah was definitely supposed to come, suffer, die, and then resurrect in order to absolve sins. And he attributes all of this to the Old Testament scriptures. So,
well,
I mean,
hold on. Paul says, as it is written in the scriptures, and then never once actually gives reference to where in the scriptures that is. And when you talk about the Hellenized Jews, which did make Jesus fit the description, when he died, because they thought he was bringing in the reign. I mean, they thought he was going to be the prince of all this shit. And so when he died, they ditched, because they were jumping on this Hellenized view of the Messiah. But Paul, I firmly believe, was a part of the cult of Mithras. And I think he capitalized on the idea of, here's a bunch of people I'm not recognized because I speak Greek. I'm not going to be recognized by the Jews in this day. And he capitalized it and he changed it. The fact that he doesn't link sources as for where in the scriptures he's referring to, because it doesn't say shit that he's saying it does. And so I think he was the Trump of like the ancient Mesopotamia area, whatever the hell that era is called. But
you see, you find yourself in the precarious position of having to assume that Paul was lying about certain things, and just because he doesn't quote specifically where in the scriptures that he got this information doesn't mean that they weren't interpreting different things in the scriptures as these things. Philo of Alexandria shows us that the Jews were definitely scouring the Old Testament scriptures with specific references to know things about this Messiah. And then you've got other things like the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, that points to the fact that the Messiah was supposed to come, to suffer, die, and resurrect. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to suggest any of that stuff about Paul, considering that the Jews after Jesus came wouldn't have interpreted old Jewish scriptures to vindicate what the Christians were saying.
So you said Song of Solomon, where the Messiah or the Messiah
comes... Wisdom of Solomon.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you're not Isaiah 53.
No, that was part of it. But Wisdom of Solomon is a first century Jewish text that also attests to the Messiah that was supposed to suffer and die a shameful death.
I know that as Isaiah 53, and I know that was changed, but I mean, you could be right. I haven't read the Wisdom of Solomon.
Okay. No, I mean, definitely don't take my opinion as like gospel truth, as funny as that might be. But Wisdom of Solomon's readily available online. If you go to chapter 2 and read it, I think it's like verse 17 maybe or something like that. You get to that point and it describes the Messiah of Judaism as, suffering and being put to death in a shameful way. So there's that.
And I just want to say an adjacent topic, hashtag Messiahs don't exist.
Hashtag Messiahs don't exist. Hashtag
defeated.
He is still a myth on Easter Sunday. He's still a motherfucking myth.
Well, hold on. Because now I have evidence to prove that he is real.
Oh.
Who have you been listening to, Jena?
Oh, it's not whom I've been listening to. It's where I've been. Church.
Ooh,
I've been to
church.
This is going to be okay.
It's a good song.
This is satire. Go ahead.
This could change everything.
It is not satire. This is unfallible proof, sir. I demand respect. Okay. So
I'm all ears.
I went to church today.
Oh, we start off in a great foot. I went to church today. This is great. Now I got my evidence.
Happy Resurrection Day. This is where you find your true facts. You go to church. So Jesus is real because not only do you bathe in the blood of him while dipping yourself whole-bodied in a pool of water, signifying blood, you also partake in his blood and his body. And this is the proof. This is the blood and the body of Jesus.
Is that a communion to go?
Good.
That's a communion
Put
to
it
go.
closer to the camera.
There you go.
The fact that is a Jesus snack pack. Amazes me.
Jesus is real, Oz.
That is crazy.
Isn't it cute?
It's so cute. Oz, you need to hand those out at Better.
I will.
But with real wine.
This was a great stream.
If you pour it on the ground, will it like collate with all the other blood?
Probably. I don't want to risk
one for my
together,
sacrificed homies.
Yes, it's a little bit of comedy for me, just to break the conversation. But I have some significance, just mainly pertaining to myself. For years, I've been baptized twice and anointed with oil. Obviously, it worked out. But this is the first time I've ever in my life, since being baptized and being of that, prescription to actually partake in communion once a month, that I've never taken communion. I just literally pretended I did and stuck it in my purse and was like, I'm going to use this in the stream tonight because this is bullshit.
It's very cute.
This is bullshit. Yeah, it is very cute. It has evolved because, COVID. But the fact that
Could you
saying
again,
evolution exists?
I mean, church, y'all.
But I would just like to say real quick, Jena, because there's coming out of similar doctrine, theology, that kind of thing. Congratulations. That's actually a big step. Like in saying, no, I'm not doing that, and I'm not going to participate. And
right.
That is a big step. So I want to say congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. That's why it's, I got a little selfish tonight and made this significant, because this for me was significant enough growing up. And even in the few years that I started to be an atheist, I still partook in this thing, but I just was, it was nothing to me. It was just something to kind of snack on and keep my ass awake during church. But
wait, you had a six pack? Is that what you're saying? And this is
it's a bit tart and sour and disgusting tasting. So it's enough to go to shoot up to your brain and be like, okay, fuck, I'm awake.
Needs cheese.
I never liked communion wine. Like, that shit always tasted bad to me. But I mean, then again, I was a kid.
Though I had
the notion of Jesus to go is just a fantastic concept.
It is. It is.
Well, I was gonna say, let me do the super chat, because I was actually gonna come. I love that you said that, Amy. The comedic minds align. So let's do the super chat first.
I'm gonna do it with the communion wine.
Slow motion. Let's make it last. Oh, did you dope your wine with Jesus?
My money on my mind. James Dub for $5. Thanks for the support to the channel, James. And James is Amy's co-host.
Woohoo!
For the Amy Newman channel. Go peep game. Go peep game. Look, let's get serious. Look. Jesus killed the fig tree for not producing fruit out of season. Clearly, he was the Messiah. Plus, fucking LPPs fucking says so, bitches. Peep game.
Interesting thing about that, in case anybody's curious, but that's actually symbolic for Jesus killing not killing, but doing away with the old covenant, with the Jews, and dealing with that. So, wow. I mean, that's this symbolic nature of killing the fig tree. In the Old Testament, the fig tree is normally associated with the Jewish people or the Israelite nation. And talking about bearing fruit and everything like that is actually a pretty common thing in the Old Testament. So Jesus coming through and basically cursing it and talking about how it's not going to bear any more fruit is symbolic of him doing away with the old covenant, because he's here to establish the new covenant, because the old covenant was like a piece of shit. Is basically
it really Jesus seems like they could have come up with a better metaphor that would make it look.
I mean,
so
you would. Well, I mean, you would think, but it's
tree.
But I mean, that particular thing's wrapped up in the whole temple episode, where Jesus goes in there and he throws fisticuffs with all the people changing money in there, and so he's really pissed off about that. And then he comes back out and he curses the fig tree. So
I was going to say about that little thing you've got there, Jena. I mean, that shows how religions change over time. I mean, I grew up Catholic, and it was not proper communion unless you received it from the priest. So at one point, when they started letting secondary helpers give it, it was just like there was this oh, that can't be right. That can't be.
Never grew up on that.
And then
grew up on that. Yeah.
And then they started doing wine later on, and it's like, oh, that's not real. It's
never had wine. It was always Welsh's grape juice.
Well, okay. we'll go with the
Reminds me of
Jews.
my
Now
Hebrew school.
Some do one, some do other. So now you have schisms, right?
Oh,
Yeah, and I never received it from a pastor. It was always passed along in these trays, like from row to row.
From the Ursher.
From the
You
Ursher.
got it from the Ursher.
Did anybody hear? Sorry, go ahead.
Just say one last thing. I remember that a lot of the reasons they made changes back then was because the Catholic Church was not doing well, right? It was a Latin Mass, and I'm that old. Then that I used to go to when I was a kid. The church wasn't doing well, so they had to modernize and make things different to attract people.
They had to, and we'll reference this here in a minute after G says what he wanted to say. But when you say modernize, it's a business decision. But go ahead, G.
Yeah, it was. It was. They modernized to go to English and then to add music. And now there you had a person in the room playing guitar and stuff. Yeah, it's like, scandalous,
They were the person with the baseball cap backwards with a guitar saying, "Hello, young people."
Not in my day. Not in my day, young woman.
I was just going to ask, like, how many of us here, when we were religious, believed in transubstantiation?
I didn't even know what that word was.
We were so close to going to my topic, but continue.
Because I was Catholic, but I never thought that like the little wafer turned into flesh and the whatever grape juice wine stuff turned into blood. Like I never thought, like, I knew that I was drinking shitty wine, like shitty box wine you get from Walmart.
I think that's a Catholic thing.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way,
it is.
I don't necessarily agree that it's just a Catholic thing, because the not the church. So the church I grew up in was very much more what G is talking about. Then as an adult, the church when we moved to Ohio was very much more what you're talking about, Jena.
You were super evangelical.
In both were, but one church stuck to more of the, I guess the purist take on. On doing communion and everything, where the church that I was at in Ohio when I was older, it was very much the commercialized, businessized, so to speak, version where yes, that church would have had the Jesus to go, just like we're at a Starbucks window. Give me the Jesus to go, please.
No, it was always it
number
never was
2 with nails. No.
Extra nails. With the thorn.
Hell, here we come.
No, it was always the language as far as me chuckling. The language as far as me growing up was, and we had a what do you call it? An altar at every church I went to, an altar that says do this or doing this in the remembrance of me. Everything was symbolism. It was always symbolic, and they always prefaced that, and everything, whenever it was communion time, that this is a symbolism, not the actual blood and body of Jesus. This is symbolic of this, and this. So that part was never an issue as far as me actually thinking I'm actually drinking blood. Like, oh my fucking God. But as time went on, just thinking that this whole type of playing this ritualistic thing of I'm gonna kid and actually drink his blood just so I could remember him. Like, I don't feel I need to eat flesh and drink someone else's blood just to remember somebody.
And can I just tell you, you always know you're not in a cult when you're standing at an altar and they say, look, you just need to drink the blood and the body of our dead leader.
That's how you know.
That's how you know.
He was just the best.
And think about how opposed, just for the especially the fundamentalists that the read their Bible. It is what it says, and what it says it is. And the Bible says that that God, Yahweh, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And forever. right?
forever and ever.
It's never changing. Because he is omni fucking goddamn motherfucking everything, he doesn't need to change or adapt, or as you said, Phil, which I've heard because my brother's a pastor. I've heard this verbiage, and I understand the vernacular. We need to modernize, and we need to evolve. Oh! All of a sudden now you believe in fucking evolution? Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck
I
out!
hate that.
Anyway.
And like in Mormonism, now you believe black people are okay.
Yeah. Oh,
we
God.
had a very convenient revelation here. I was going to say, I remember as a young kid, and I wasn't really paying attention much as a young kid. I had Sunday school and but they tell you the happy stories and things. But I remember the getting the wafer, and it was just I believed in believed what I was told. Right, it's the body and blood of Christ, and it's just like I remember thinking, what is this thing going to taste like? And I remember that thing on my tongue going, no, paper. Yeah, paper. It's not true.
That's not even the worst part.
That's as far as I went. But
okay, I want to finish my point, and you guys go. So all that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Yada yada yada. That's in their book, and it's in their text, their manual. But then when you go to the commercialize, or we have to modernize, or any of that, like there's we get to the point where then does that not diminish the message? Because from what I've learned anyway, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, what I learned in the Bible classes I took when I was a Christian is when Jesus said the things at the Last Supper, but when you eat this or you drink this in remembrance of me, he wasn't saying that to, hey, you do this and you tell everybody that when they eat this thing, they do it in remembrance of me. That was meant to be within like his crew, his people, like his homies. Like that wasn't supposed to be something that was like everybody does this, but just like the cross, and that's why I brought it up first, just like the cross. And I could be ill-informed on this, and I'm willing to say it, but I think just like the cross, this Last Supper, this communion thing has been thrown out there as a marketing ploy and a control manipulation ploy, just like the cross was. Thoughts on that?
I think as far as it modernizing, I mean, that's the whole point. I think it dials back to what Phil was saying as far as way back then when the Catholic Church was having trouble because, you weren't having a lot of people in the congregation. It's exactly that. Other churches, especially, Christianity, whatever, like my mother was even commenting today, was like, are we ever going to have a full congregation like before? And I'm like, no. Because of COVID too, but we've seen statistics, we've seen Pew Poll research, specifying the decline in churchgoers, people not as religious as before or what have you. But it's just that the whole type of modernizing, appealing to those that would not be so easily appealed to if you stuck with the old school stuff.
Unless the internet dies.
Right, exactly. You have to capture that. Even when we talked about this before, Oz, like a week or two ago, where you were, it was last week, where you were showing, that one preacher that was a part of ARC. How strange. I commented that I just hate when preachers try to be all comedy and cool and not at the podium without the Bible. They're all like trying to work the stage like a comedian or something. Like that was too modern
backwards.
For me. That's too modern for me because that's not shit I grew up with. But you capture those people that see this energy and it feels fresh and young and all this stuff, and it's intoxicating. It's the oh God, no, you didn't. Please turn that back around.
See, now he can talk to those young kids about the Bible and how they're
boys
burn.
And girls. It's Ozzy here. How about the kids?
Zoe here.
So you have to be captivating like that. You have to reach those in order to, grow your flock in a sense.
You could go another way. You could do what Islam does. Islam is a growing religion. It's going to be the dominant religion. And
I was going to say I go both ways, but I see what you're saying now.
You could go the do or die route to simplify the method. So that works too.
There are upcoming competitions. So right now we're taking down Christianity. I like to say we're potty training them. We're almost done. And so once we're through with them, we can move on to the rest of the Abrahamic.
You do look like him. Please turn your hat back around.
You got to have faith, bitch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think as far as like the like Last Supper and everything like that, you know, even in Judaism, you have these symbolic meals that take place. And I think that that's just kind of like an extension of that. In other mystery cults of the, you know, of antiquity, you also have like symbolic meals that also occur as, you know, as these rituals that you're supposed to do. So I feel like it falls in line with the rest of the types of groups that were forming at the time. So I think that, like, for instance, when Paul talks about the Lord's Supper, not the Last Supper, just a very minor distinction here. When he talks about the Lord's Supper, he talks about it in such a way where Jesus is instructing Paul on what the symbolic meal, how that's supposed to happen, what each item in the meal is supposed to symbolically represent. So I think that it's I think that it's just a general way that, you know, that these types of mystery cults were actually constructed.
And I agree with you, G, but in that agreement, would we agree that it's just another tool in the belt to control or monopolize the thought process or the reasoning of those involved?
Oh, I mean, definitely. I mean, any ritualistic type of thing that is taught by these types of groups are gonna have like an ulterior motive, like a purpose to them. And part of that is to control the group in some kind of way, either as a constant reminder or, you know, something of that nature. So, I mean, I could definitely agree with you on that.
And I say that. Oh no,
it does fit also that, you know, if you have this type of ritual in other cultures, you know, that is sort of commonly known. It fits the idea that when you're putting your story together, that you'd want that you could put the stuff in there to make it, oh, this is significant because we had our ritual dinner. And, you know, it's like some of the things that have been in previous religions that got pulled into Christianity and claimed to be their own version of what happened.
So, but hold on. Oz was just saying, was it your pastor or your brother that said that God is never changing?
No, the Bible says it.
The same from the beginning to the end, never changing. Like, okay, if we actually believe that Jesus's Last Supper was at Pesach, which I think it's John's Gospel that tries to make that happen, and there's a whole bunch of problems. But let's just grant it. If he said that, and I didn't do communion or the Eucharist. In my opinion, if he was the Jewish Messiah, he was saying, do this Pesach in remembrance of me. So not only are you commanded in the Torah to keep the anointed feast days, Pesach being one of them, he's just telling you, this is the apologetics that I would do. He's telling you to point to the Torah, which that's what it's supposed to do. So if Jesus is implementing a new thing, and then people are doing that, then he isn't the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He has completely changed the system. And so, like, it seems like we are not making the connection, or at least Christians aren't, that, yeah, it's the same, but we completely changed it. It's the same, but we don't do that anymore. It's the same, but now we worship Jesus. Well, how are you not connecting the dots that you have completely created a new religion?
Which, Biddy, that's why with the two, I think the two, maybe three, possibly perspectives that I was trying to highlight there, where it's you're demonstrating, Christians, you're demonstrating that your God is not the same yesterday, today, and forever, because it was this then, And then today we just had Jena live on screen show Jesus to go. Jesus in a cup. You get Jesus in a cup, right? You get Jesus
It's so
in a cup
cute.
and a little goddamn wafer. You know,
Y'all jelly. I know you're jelly.
Oz,
I
can
am.
just-
I want one.
I just have to bring it up because you guys brought it up. Here's the thing. Would you want it to taste good? That's my question. Because I think
mean, I
Some
totally
Sundays,
agree.
yeah.
Listen, if my fat ass had to sit down and like say, do this in remembrance of me, it would definitely be eat a cupcake in remembrance of me and my fat ass.
I mean,
Okay,
'cause-
like I would want it to taste good. Like I want you guys to have a really good thought about me
Hell
later. Eat this cupcake; it's delicious.
That's
Well,
fair.
if you're Mother Teresa, you want it to taste awful because you
Oh
want
my.
you want to cause suffering because suffering brings you closer, right?
yeah,
so you
and
need
look,
painful
Uh,
cupcakes.
So sorry,
Many
I'm
places.
still here. I just for some
God.
reason my camera like
Oh,
died
no,
on me.
Godless Engineer.
Godless
God.
engineer.
but I'll say this, I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not any. I love to eat steak. I love to eat chicken. I love fuck all that shit. I'm going to eat my steak. And if I'm going to eat a god in remembrance of him, I want it to be like a big filet mignon, and I want that shit to be fucking medium rare, if not rare, and juicy and bloody. Because if we're gonna do it the right way, let's do it the right way.
I agree. I agree.
That's
That was what I thought as a kid. I
Right.
wanted to taste like it's supposed to taste. Yeah, so I was disappointed when it tasted like paper.
Did you? Okay, question. So when I was little, I mean, we went to church every damn Sunday, and we went early, so I didn't get no damn breakfast. And then the sermon is always forever.
Girl.
And then they do communion, and you're like, yay, like I get to eat a cracker. And my mom would never, ever let me do communion as a child. Because she's like, you don't get to do this until you understand the implications of what you are agreeing to. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just like, I was starving
I
in church.
understand snacks.
Did you guys get to take it as a kid, or were you like not allowed to?
Only the condition is only if you're baptized.
Mm.
That's the condition.
Really?
So for me, it wasn't.
In Catholics, it was First Communion.
Yeah,
That comes
yeah.
before
That's what I was
baptism.
gonna say.
Everyone's
Phil.
different.
Yeah, like I mean, I didn't have to be body slammed in water in order to get communion. I had to actually go through like a first communion class, and then finally take first communion, and then I was able to drink, wine,
Yeah.
supposedly wine,
It-
and then really shitty bread.
Is that different than confirmation?
Yes.
Or
I
is
think
it
that
like
is, right?
introduction
Yeah.
to
Well,
confirmation?
the water thing, that's baptism. So that
Yeah.
First Communion is about age 9 or so, and then Communion is age 13 or something like that.
Wow.
Or confirmation. What did I just say?
Oh.
Confirmation's at age 13.
Confirmation.
Yeah,
And
see,
then
I don't think
mhm.
I didn't go through confirmation. I went through first communion, and then we yeeted ourselves out of that situation due to family problems. But yeah, I didn't go through confirmation. I just went through the first communion, which was a trip as a kid.
That's interesting. Yeah, I found that quite interesting. Well, for me, it was interesting because I've had 2 church homes, as they would say. I grew up Baptist Christian. So my first church home, when I was a child, I was anointed with oil on my forehead when I was like 2 or 3. Can't remember. So, I mean, I was, young. I was baptized at the age of 5 or 6. And I think at around that time, that's when I took communion, because that was the rule. If you've been baptized, then you take part in communion because you are now considered a saved being. And then once we moved to my family's present church, I was around 10 or 11. And for whatever reason, I had to be rebaptized. I'm like, I'm already saved. Am I just saved because of this church? No, I got to get re-saved because I'm at a new church. Like, does God not follow me depending on the church? That shit was confusing.
Silly.
We have an
Yeah, that's
update we offer. You need to have a new
You need an
package
update.
installed. Yeah.
You need a booster. You need a booster.
I need a
If you had your
booster. You need a booster baptism.
This shit don't transfer. You got to rework. You have to rework your works. you have to
Oh, shit.
rework
Right.
your works. And I just have to pause right now and say that Godless Engineer's newest camera setup, I feel like it needs to have a Olin Mills tag on the bottom.
Frosty.
This looks like a family photo. It looks like a family photo. Right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It like died on me, and so I had to restart it and everything. I don't know why it's got this halo thing going around.
I
It
like
looks
it.
like I'm a lot more pure than I am.
It's like it's a vignette. So to me, that
Oh
I don't know
my.
why the word vignette tells me that now you have to tell the story. You put it's like dream sequence.
It's okay. We
And
have
so it all began.
we have about 20 minutes left, and so well, I'll say this, and maybe this takes up the rest of the time, but no, it probably won't. But my experience with communions is it had nothing to do with baptism. It had nothing to do with age. It had everything to do with, have you repented of your sins? Have you repented of your sins? Have you asked for forgiveness? If you have done that, you can drink all the wine and eat all the little crackhead ass, shitty ass, tasting ass fucking wafers that you want. As long
Who gets it right?
as long as you've asked for forgiveness.
Well, that's just wrong. Sorry, that's just
Had
wrong.
to
That's
dunk my ass in cold water all over again for nothing.
Yeah, the
Got my
only
hair
thing-
wet and shit.
The only version that makes sense to me is just like, okay, if once you hit the age of reason, 8, something like
Which
that,
is
right,
what?
then you can
Thank you.
about age 8. That's the that's the
I feel like it's
scientific
more like
thing.
25, but we'll go with that.
Well, that's the psychology thing. Okay, you can decide. I had this meeting with someone years ago. It's just like meeting at Starbucks, and we were talking about religion versus non-religion. And she was like, "I was born again," and I tried to get her to explain to me how that made sense. So I was kind of thinking about that. At some point you get to, it's not like your parents did it as a baby and you had no control of it and you didn't know what the hell was going on. You're an adult or something. So I said, oh, when were you born again? It's just age 4. It's like, no, still doesn't make sense. Sorry. Age 4. Great.
Become like a child.
It's when Thomas Aquinas wrote his best work.
Age 4.
So to end up our last 15 minutes ish, let's do this. So obviously here, and I'm sure most people know those that are on screen right now. You either know or have a good idea maybe of their position on this, but I have to, with my position being 100% a mythicist, I have to ask this question, and just we'll go one by one around the room as we end this stream. And I will actually, Phil, I'll start with you because you're probably the only one on screen that I've not had this conversation with. So I'll start with you first. That way, it's
did Jesus exist?
It's transparent. Is there any good reason for me to believe that Jesus is not a myth?
Well, before I read Richard Carrier's historicity, I'm okay with the idea that he did not exist, that he was a myth. But as for Carrier seems to have done some good work, but he's only one researcher, so I'll put that aside. I am perfectly comfortable with the idea that he did exist because it was a very common. It happened back then to other people, and it's a very reasonable thing to have happened. That someone claimed that he was speaking for God or whatever, and then got crucified politically and died. End of story. So if I had to lay money on it, that's what I would say is the most likely thing that happened.
So your position is you believe that there is a historical Jesus. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I won't say is because I don't have a whole lot of confidence in this, but so it's I talk about belief as being on this 1 to 100 scale. So I'll go 60% on that maybe. So it's believable and somewhat likely that he was an average guy who just got got crucified like a lot of other people.
Okay, all right, and I'm not asking all of you to do one big grand debate. I just love hearing other people's position, reason. It's cool. We're all friends. It's all good. Goddamn motherfucking internet.
Got you.
Where do you?
I feel that.
Got you.
I don't have a strong opinion either way, so I would never debate a particular side, but I think that there's weight to the fact that Paul is definitely, there's a group of people that exists that something happened to a man that he jumps in on and then, like I said, capitalizes on a situation. So I think there had to have been something that did happen historically to someone for him to be able to get a following right off the bat to then create a religion that would exist so far into the future.
Okay. Jena?
As far as what I was brought up to believe about Jesus and the whole blood magic and him doing magic tricks and feeding people and things like that, like, no, I don't believe that particular individual exists. I certainly can believe that there were individuals. It's a possibility that there are individuals that had that same name way back when, but as far as it to be true to the creation of Christianity and people, following this religion, and how there are maybe some references of actual other prophets or messiahs or whatever that had the same type of origin story, born of virgin birth and all that good stuff. Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy it.
So, well, okay. I'll wait. Amy.
Woo-woo, had to find my cursor for a second. But I'm about 50-50. I would say that I could put a finer point on that and say, first off, was there a man who walked on water, turned that water into wine, and then healed the sick? No, but it sounds like a fantastic 3-act show, but that person did not exist. Was there many men in the first century, rabbis, that could have inspired something to become Christianity? Yes, I believe that's true. So hashtag prophets don't exist. That is my real thing. Doesn't matter if it's Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, and or anyone else. You can't talk to a god as far as I'm concerned. So the Jesus that they are celebrating right now did not exist. I can tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
And Amy, do we on record? Do we have any recorded like voicemail messages or email or anything? God.
No, not only that, but he couldn't even write himself into his own book. Apparently, we
have a burning bush.
We have 500 witnesses and a bunch of dead people.
And a burning bush.
And a burning bush.
You know what? Leave it to the goddamn atheist to continue this circular argument. Leave it to the goddamn atheist.
All right, we have one guy who says 500, so.
And I would believe 500 guys. Wait, that's a... Never mind.
God damn it, Amy.
Before I talk any shit, Godless Engineer.
There we go. That fits with my camera right now. So yeah, I mean, I think that the Messiah of Judaism was created out of the Jewish expectations of the Messiah, and that one set of these expectations are what Paul preached, and that became what we know now as Jesus Christ. So I don't think that he was a real person that walked on earth. But that's due to the very mainly due to Paul and the ambiguous verses in Paul that seem to indicate that Paul only ever thought of Jesus as a celestial figure. So yeah.
Also,
that's
the
my
ambiguous
position.
verses of Paul, my least favorite Harry Potter book.
Harry Potter and the ambiguous verses of Jesus Christ.
Dum dum dum. So my
Brother Oz.
yeah, yes.
No, go for it.
Preach.
I was just
Oh, I
preach, Brother Oz.
stop. No, I don't call me that. I don't.
I know you hate it. That's why I said it.
It's fucking weird. So to kind of take all of those things and tie them together, because this is what apologists love to do. Well, I'm not talking about the divine nature. I'm talking about the historical account of this man named Jesus. Well, then fuck off with your argument. Fuck off. Because if it's not the same motherfucker that walked on water and spit in dirt and rubbed it in people's eyes and healed them if it's not that, then it's not the motherfucking Jesus. It's not the motherfucking Jesus from the Bible. So stop with that shit. You're playing games, bro. You're playing goddamn motherfucking games. There is no separation. You don't get to separate the two. He is who he says he was, or he's not. He is who the Bible says he was, or he's not. There is no separation between the historical and the divine, because the only way that he becomes the Jesus of the Bible is when the historical and the divine combine. That's the only way you get that shit. So get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here with the trying to separate this shit and act like there's like this argumentation, Christian apologists, that well there at least was this and it gets really passive and they're no it's either it's this or it's not. There is a true dichotomy there. He is either the Jesus of the Bible or he is not the Jesus of the Bible.
Can I ask a question? And maybe this is a stupid example, but like Caesar, for example, is a historically documented person that then became God after whatever. So we are able to separate the divinity from the historical person. I mean, are you just doing it because a religion was made around him?
Well, because Jesus is the only figure that I've been told, and that thousands and millions and billions of others have been told, that if you don't believe in this person, you will die and burn in an eternal hell.
Okay, so that's the reason. Got it.
I think also Jesus strives so hard outside of his disciples to not have them. I think I can't remember the verse in Mark. I think it's chapter 8 or 9, verse 21, 20, something like that, where he's like, basically saying, don't tell the others who I am. Don't just, keep it on the down low. Like, I'm just a man. I'm not anything else. Just, shut the fuck up. He basically contradicts himself, or not contradicts himself, but he makes it so hush-hush to where I feel like that's where most Christians are creating that whole separation of the man, separating the divinity of it. Maybe, because I've been hearing that scripture the last 2 Sundays, and it's kind of irritating.
Well, I think that the whole historical Jesus thing, the most honest discussion can really only happen between people that are outside of the religion. So, we're talking like secular scholars and everything like that, because, I agree with Oz on the idea that if you're a Christian and you're arguing for a historical Jesus, then both the historical Jesus and the divine Jesus are one entity. Like, you can't separate like historical from divine in that situation.
Else it's just a dude.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I think that if you're arguing with a Christian apologist or a Christian in general, I think that divine and historical are the same. But when you're talking about a discussion between people outside of the religion, you can definitely separate like between what would be the minimal historical kind of figure of Jesus and the minimal mythical version of Jesus. And I think that's really where the debate lies in this particular situation. And that's where I at least find the most value in the discussion, because otherwise it's basically an atheist that's talking about how the divine Jesus of the Gospels isn't a historical figure. And I mean, that's just like every other discussion that we have, like with a religious person.
Yeah, it's and I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, Christian. It's bullshit. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to apologize. It's until you have evidence outside of the Bible that this motherfucker not only existed, but he actually did the shit that you believe and profess that he did. Like I'm dead for 3 days. I'm and boom. Now I'm doing shit. I'm back. I'm back, bitches. I'm back. Yeah. And now I'm back. I'm here to save the goddamn.
Also, my last rant on it, but these are the same people who are like, do you believe in biology? Do you believe in biology? I'm like, yes. Do you believe in biology? Dude, rotted. Like, they make fun of us when we're like, zombie Jesus. I'm like, well, there's only two answers here. Either the flesh rotted for 3 days and it was healed, or the flesh is rotted, and thus it really is a zombie. We're not even joking.
Listen, Amy, you're negating the whole magic factor. Okay, listen, if we have magical incantations,
that's true.
It can do like we could do anything with that. We just got to get a magic wand.
That is not how Mel Gibson portrayed Jesus. Stop it.
Oh my.
Stop it right
you
now.
mean
I'm also
Harry Potter didn't appear and he was like, rah, rah, and then, magically transformed Jesus?
Which is true science right there.
So I know this is probably a troll comment, but I have to put up there because I actually do know, and we all know theists that would actually say this shit. So the Shroud of Turin proves the resurrection of Christ.
And Tangelo? Are you out there? Yeah, I actually think Tangelo.
It has to
I make the joke and it's self-fulfilling. I'm just kidding. I love you, Tangelo. Sending love.
The Shroud of Turin proves the resurrection of Christ in the Gospels, and the Gospels prove the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. Its authenticity has never been disproven.
Never.
Bullshit.
Except for the lab that determined that it was a 13th century forgery.
Yeah,
like 13th, it's a
14th, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of they have ways of arguing around that. Like, oh well, they took a piece of the fabric that was from a time when it got destroyed in a castle fire or something like that.
And
but
it's a secular place that conducted the study, and they don't want it to be true. So therefore, you can't trust any
it's
sort
a massive conspiracy.
Anybody that actually believes the Shroud of Turin is an authentic historical
artifact.
If you actually believe that, with all the studies that are out there, everything that's been given to the public, you are a fucking dumbass. You're a dumbass, and you want to believe what you want to believe,
but
you want to go out of your way to believe what you want to believe.
I'm sensing love, Nick. I just get super excited. It's because the Shroud of Turin, it's one of those things that from an outsider perspective, it's just like you're not even wrong. Why would the Shroud of Turin prove anything? Like, the dude dies. He comes back from the dead. He makes an imprint of himself on a piece of cloth, and then he disappears again. You know what would have been cooler? If he stayed around. If he didn't poof. Apparently,
even if you say,
and again,
even if we knew that the
hold on, I got to jump in real quick. Then we can jump back in this. But GE has to bounce. I just want to say real quick, thank you, GE, for joining. And I'm sure most of the people on our channel already know who you are and what you do. But go ahead, give a quick plug, and we'll make sure everything's in the description afterwards.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt everything, but so I'm Godless Engineer, and you can find me here on YouTube at Godless Engineer. We post up at least 4 times a week over on the channel. We do a Bible study, we do political commentary, and we do regular edited videos and stuff like that concerning, creationism and theology and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of thing, response videos and such, then come on over to Godless Engineer and you'll be happily surprised. So
you have such a heavenly glow, so we just had to stop the show for you.
That's exactly right. But I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I really appreciate the discussion. It was great, and I guess I'll see you guys later. Okay,
cool. Thanks, G. Appreciate you.
Great knowledge.
It was nice having you on, Godless, and talking. I think I'm going to send his link in the chat, too.
Everybody do the Amy dance.
Woohoo!
We just started a goddamn thing. We just started
become an internet meme.
Can I jump in just real quick on that thing that was said about if Jesus left and how more evidence would be to have stayed here? So he died and came back. That is the second coming. He left again, and then he'd be coming back, depending on if you're pre-trib rapture again, and then leaving, and then coming back again. But if you were to read Jeremiah 33, when it talks about the new covenant, it says that he will come and make his place in Israel. Like, he left. So he wasn't supposed to leave, if resurrected or not, which isn't anywhere in biblical prophecy, but he would have been here. Like, him leaving makes no sense. And if he's the one singular person that we are supposed to believe in order to inherit the kingdom of heaven, then he is responsible for sending anybody to hell with lack of evidence. And he didn't even follow his own word, because he's coming 3 or 4 or 5 times, depending on where you put the rapture, if you believe in the rapture. Otherwise, it's 3.
All I hear is coming 3 or 4 or 5 times, but I'm also listening.
Thank you. Thank you. I like how Biddy is speaking wisdom and Oz, and we can't help ourselves.
Every time me and Oz watch a reaction video, I'm like intently listening and trying, and then Oz is like, "This dumbass," and I'm like,
I'm trying to be serious.
Talking that shit. What happened was,
I think we keep leaving out the magic.
Yeah.
Keep leaving out the
you
magic.
can explain anything. That's
right here.
Believe in magic first, and then you're good.
Because how utterly convenient is that, back in the olden days, people walked around and saw Jesus do miracles, but we don't see that shit today. No.
Because
how fucking convenient.
Because talking about that, you go into more of the deity Yahweh conversation, which is not the purpose of this, because that's more foundationally would be in the God argument. This is just about this Jesus dude that God sent to do this thing, because he doesn't have the ball sack to actually do what he's promised to do. And he doesn't want to step up and play ball the way he's promised, because he's put it all on the table, like, I am the Alpha and the Omega, I am the beginning and the end. But you're not, bro. You're not, because you wouldn't have needed you would not have needed a Jesus. You would have not needed a flood. You would have not needed, like, anyways, if you were actually the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and end, and you understand everything from top to bottom, and you are all of the omni characteristics, you don't need all that shit.
And if your intention was to be good too, so.
Right.
I mean, the omni traits in themselves are self-defeating, but like
Mm-hmm.
the biggest problem comes down to then he's an evil god. Like
Yes.
he's just evil.
Hells, yeah.
And so yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And think about that. I was thinking about this today, like as I was thinking about this stream. And this is the first time that this ever even like crossed my mind or even thought about it. So this is like, and I wish I would have thought to bring it up why GE was here, with that being his area of focus. If God is God, Yahweh is like, he is the deity, and he becomes flesh, right? He walks, he redistributes himself, or what, I don't know what the fuck the term for that is, but if he does that, then Jesus is still a myth, because it's not that there's not a different person, it's still him. And just because like for me, my name is Austin, I call myself Oz online, even at work people call me Oz, but I'm still, at the end of the day, I am my being. My legal name is Austin. So Jesus is still a fucking myth. Just like Oz is a myth. Oz is made up. Oz is fabricated.
See, now you just create a whole new hashtag for yourself. Thank you. God damn it.
Oz is real.
I love you guys so much.
Wait, I'm dating a myth? What?
You're
Just fucked up my whole world right now.
Oh my god, I have to drink more.
Phil.
Oh.
Yes, Nick.
So yes, I am Jesus.
You're honest.
You heard it here first, folks. Empirical evidence.
I
Behind
can't
this,
believe anything you say from now on.
this is what happens when you tune into Behind the Curtain. You get to learn that Oz is Jesus. but no,
It's all starting to make sense.
Another one saying he's Jesus. Oh my god. I thought I meant enough in the psych ward. I did my psych rotation.
We just started a cult in one night. No, but if you think about it logically, like no, you created this thing, but it's you.
That's my favorite part, is the line I hear all the damn time on TikTok is, how could just someone make that up? How? Yeah. So Thanos
easily.
Really? In like,
do you not
Thanos,
know what a book is?
Do all of those people exist? If that's your line of logic, you have to conclude that all of these fictional characters are real, because who could make it up?
Yeah, we'll go with that instead of the scientific method. It's like the more unlikely it is, that it's better to believe that it's true, because it's so unlikely.
It's so silly. How could it not be true?
Right.
I'm literally, for the record, sorry, you guys keep it. I'm literally changing my name to this. This is fucking beautiful.
See, now he's tickled and he has a big head about it. Thanks. Thank you, chat. No, and from what you were saying, Biddy, now the whole virgin birth makes fucking sense, because he can't be born of a human, because that would make him human. So that would make him not God. God needs to implant himself into something to make it real.
So it's an alien?
I just fucked up my own head right now.
Hybrids, you can take on characteristics of either side. I've seen lots of movies.
Well, like, historically, you break it down just as far as ancient languages. The virgin birth is debunked very easily and very quickly.
Oh, I know. I'm a woman. I have bits. I understand how that works.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
A little bit. All right. Well, before we do wrap, because now we're 8 minutes over my planned time frame. Let's just take a few minutes, go as we said in baseball, go around the horn and talk that shit. So We'll start. Well, Amy, we'll start with you. Amy, what the fuck is coming up with your channel? What the fuck are you guys doing? And it's great to have you. And Amy and James just hit 1,000 2 weeks ago. And they're
I know, and you know, there was a mystery group that actually helped us get 1,000. So whoever that orange flavored related channel is, a very tangy gang, I just have to send a lot of love to them and the entire non-believer community. So just sending that love right back. But I feel like, do you want to, I can't help myself, sending love to the ugliest man ever. But before that, okay,
So
I
awkward
can't
to
help
say.
it. I know. You know what? I think you aren't that your name. I think you are amazing and beautiful and handsome. But yes, you can find us at youtube.com/Amy Newman. Who is that? The skeptic and ranting community, because we are doing a whole bunch of fun skeptic, non-believer, and just science allied content where we take a look at serious subjects and definitely take them super serial. And so you should join us out there where we have a lot of fun sending love to James W. and just everyone on this panel tonight. Oh, and you should also like and subscribe here. Woohoo!
yay. Or better stated, woohoo!
Woohoo!
I can't drink. I'm out.
In
I'm out.
to get Yahweh a burning goat-scented glad plug-in while his temple is down. Oh, you know.
Wow.
Oh, here we go.
That's pretty clever.
Pretty clever.
Sipping on gin and juice. Yay, yay.
Thank you so very much. Woohoo!
Yep,
And hashtag Tang Gang.
The biggest shout out to the ugliest man ever. That actually came from me, being the ugliest man ever. I'm kidding. That's not my screening. But I thought there was another one, and I lost it. So Phil, what the fuck you got going on?
I have a YouTube channel called Belief in Reality, which
No kidding.
Yes. Actually, there's almost no subscribers over there, so I would appreciate a small amount, because I did a thing called Believers and Non-Believers in Discussion a few years back and posted everything on that channel, but I don't use that anymore. So I'd like to get at least 100 subscribers on the Believe in Reality channel, just so I can get the damn name. And then maybe I'll do stuff. But dominantly what I'm doing these days is working with PSF organization and producing their shows along with Wes, and some of the great shows there: Crucible, Secular Soapbox, the Debate Show, a couple others I'm just not getting in my head. So check out PSF and like and subscribe over there, please. We're going for 1,000.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And then Biddy Buddha had Megan Lewis on. That is Dr.
Love
Josh,
listening to that.
and she's a little boss. She's a little boss. No, I love Megan, and one of my favorite parts about talking to Dr. Josh is, I'll be talking, and a lot of times he'll have me on speakerphone or whatever we're talking, and she'll hear what we're talking about, and she'll be like, "No, fuck that," like, not that exact language, but she jumps in like, "No, what about this?" And I love it, like her fiery passion. Like she's awesome. So Biddy and Pat had Megan on earlier, but Biddy, what the fuck's y'all's got going on?
Yeah, I got my own YouTube channel called the Biddy Buddha YouTube channel. I have a show with Pat Lowinger. We talk history, archaeology, and theology. Ryan has her own show called Pious Placebo. And next week, we have a pretty dope-ass panel. We're going to be talking about pronouns. We have me, Pat, Ryan, Beck, or B. I see them in the chat. And I believe Amy is on our show. Pat was supposed to tell you.
Ooh, Amy, you getting around, girl.
Hells
So,
yeah. I just
should be a
want
lot
to
of fun.
reiterate my previous statement of going both and handing it right back to you.
She don't miss a beat.
Also,
And that's next week. And our show's on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. And Oz produces for us.
I see Pat, Biddy and Pat are they're now creeping up on my peoples. And Biddy's like, huh? What? Huh?
She'll get it later. She'll get it later.
You get it later. I'm fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being dumb at this point. And then oh, there it is.
Oh.
The Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament. You better get it. If you don't, fuck. You thought I was gonna say it. Jena, the fuck you's got going on?
Well, I've been kind of in the background of things, you know, you and I just working on developing new content, developing good content, quality content for all you TANG gang out there. So just tune into that. And for the month of May, some good shit coming out. So me and Oz have been kind of coordinating, talking, reaching out to folks, and just trying to get, you know, this whole hashtag Atheist Your Way off the ground running, because it's a movement in this atheist hood that we need to grow and develop for real.
Hells yeah.
As far as my own content, you know, I thank you. I want to say great thanks for those who watched it. Nick. I want to say big thank you for those that tuned in and liked, commented, and viewed my pre-recorded show. That was something I've been trying to get off the freaking pen and pad for like a year now, and I'm gonna be doing more. So thank you for the support. Other than that, I'm here. And of course, for just as little as $1.99, you can get your own little Jesus in a cup, Jesus to go. You can have this one. You can have this one.
She put a price tag on it for $1.99.
$1.99. You know, $10.
Great for a snack.
I feel like
I gotta, pay for shipping. So
I feel like we're gonna have a healing service tonight. I think we're going to live and do a healing service tonight.
You know you want it. Look, so convenient.
Shanike.
If I keep going to church, I get these like once a month. So hey.
Yeah, well, I was going to go to church today, but I stayed way too late last night.
You slept in.
That's called regifting, Jena. Sorry.
This isn't a gift.
That was good, Phil.
Technically, it is. You're right.
That was supposed to be for you.
It was for you. He paid that price for you, Saints. He paid that.
Seriously, this is a big deal. Me not taking communion for the first time in like I don't know how many years. That was pretty epic. I was just like, fuck this.
Wait, hold on. This is your first communion not taking. What did your? But hold on, Oz. Why is that crazy?
Hold on.
No, Biddy, we already discussed this earlier, and you were live with us. Where were you at?
Not paying attention.
It's okay. Yes.
So did your family say something?
I sneaked it, hun.
You were like pretending to take it?
I pretended to take it because I sat there, and before you walk into the congregation, now that you just pick it up off the table before you go join service. And then once it's ready for that said service,
just throw it in your purse.
Threw it in my purse. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna tend to open this shit and eat it, and ain't nobody watching. They're paying attention to whatever the pastor's saying. And I was just like, in my purse.
Jesus, tastes so yummy today.
Huh?
Why did you not take it? If it's pointless.
Because I'm not It's symbolic for me being I'll keep this brief because I know we're trying to wrap up here. It's symbolic for me being closeted that, this is my little step up to getting out of that bullshit. Because why would I do this as a non-believer and when I don't even believe in this shit anymore? And I did it for a while when I deconverted. And then once COVID hit, church stopped. And then once I had to go back to church after like 2 years, it was just like, this is
not even
rough.
cheese flavored.
It's not. It tastes a little bit better than it did before, but I can't partake in something that I just no longer have faith or belief in. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
I like it.
Congratulations. It's a good step.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I feel I know it's a small thing, but this is big for me.
Small steps are important. Small steps are quite important.
Yes, baby steps. Thank you.
Did you guys ever see What About Bob? Sorry. You can end it. You can just take me off. I'll stop.
Well, I'm just going to kick you off, but we do have a question before we go. Question for panel. This is what we do. Question for the panel. Do you think Jesus was a zombie or a lich?
It's a hard question.
That's a hard question.
Not a zombie. Too much brain function, but
no.
I have to check the D&D manual.
Not a zombie.
To see what a lich does.
What's a lich?
What is a lich?
No.
Powerful magician.
No?
Yes.
I imagine bringing people back from the dead and stuff, but who knows? He could heal, right? Maybe he can use dark magic.
Jesus was a character in a book.
What's a lich?
Leak.
Is that a cousin of a bitch?
What's a leak?
It's at the very bottom.
Yes.
I've always pronounced it lich.
Producer,
So
what's a
maybe it is.
Nobody knows what it means.
I know.
Is you a lich or is you a bitch? Is you a lich?
It's pronounced leak.
Leak?
I'm pretty sure
What's a
Blizzard
leak?
had an expansion in Warcraft, and I fought a lich, but I'm not sure what they are.
I'll fight a
This
lich.
is the picture that comes
That's
up.
a leak?
I guess.
Jesus was green with the...
Like a dead sorcerer.
Huh.
I'll have to get an undead sorcerer. I'll have to get my old D&D manuals out.
And then that's where the Jesus is a myth position just it continues to be more probable.
I also just want to put that on the table that I think Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad have a perfect role-playing party. You just have your healer, your mage, and your warrior. You are off to go. Put that right there.
Amy, but you just defied Islam because the Trinity is bullshit.
Yeah, but we all have to have tanks in the world, okay? Not everyone can be DPS and healers.
Best scripture in the Bible. Jesus leaked.
Gross.
Jesus wept.
Put a band-aid on that.
Jesus leaked.
No,
That's a good way to end the show right there.
Okay, we need to end this show right now.
Jesus is leaking.
Jesus is leaking.
What one of you apologists want to debate that? Jesus leaked.
Hashtag Jesus is leaking.
What y'all want?
Is he currently leaking?
Right now, current day, right now as we speak, he's leaking.
Did Jesus pee?
No.
What is he leaking? Is the next question.
No, when it comes to peeing, he's like
It's
Kim
tears.
Jong-il, yada yada yada, whatever his name is. He doesn't pee or shit.
That does make the perfect notion. Like when someone says they're perfect, I want to know what that means. I feel like we could take that to measures where we could prove that wrong. But hey, whatever.
Yep. And at the end of the day, Christians, Muslims, everybody, why can't we be friends? Why can't? Oh, that's because you hate us because we don't believe
Religion.
I forgot. You hate us because we don't believe in your God. But everybody on the panel, thank you. Godless Engineer bounced off. Thank you very much for hanging out. And Biddy Buddha came in. We didn't even know. We didn't know Biddy was gonna come in here like a shotgun.
Surprise guest.
That's not a shotgun. This is a shotgun.
Okay, Biddy came in here like a machine gun. There we go. There we go. There we go. So thank you, everybody. Phil, Amy, Jena, Biddy, GE. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. And your boy Oz, as always, and Wes for producing the background, doing all the hard work.
Big W.
While we sit here and talk. But thank you, Wes. And until next time, peace.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.